All right. Morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel, Jesse's Occupational Awareness Show. I'm your host, Jesse. And today, vacation log day 2. What are we going to get done today? Pretty much the same thing I did yesterday. Although, yesterday I did go grocery shopping, so I at least had to get out of the house. Today, I don't think I'm going to see the outside. And probably not going to see the outside for a couple of days. That's going to throw off the timing for these videos, and for that, you, the viewer, I do apologize for that. When you're on extended leave like this, sometimes the schedule gets a little bit weird. I one day might have breakfast at 1400, which is 2 o'clock in the afternoon for those of you non-military speaking type, and I might have dinner at 1 in the morning. It really just depends. Quick story, then we'll get to the topic. Yesterday, I started playing 7 Days to Die on Xbox, and what felt like about an hour, okay, I glanced around finally. I had my headphones on, and I glanced around finally and realized the sun had gone down. And I went, good God, how many hours have I been on this thing? I played it for about 3.5 hours or so, just letting the time pass. So this is going to be a great time spent here at the house, just enjoying the time. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, I received such warm and loving comments, 100% total sarcasm inserted into that, from the story about Jones. I figured while it's still fresh on my brain, I could I would continue on with the story about Jones. Now, I wish all of you could see the comments that I got from certain viewers. YouTube has a filter where certain languages, certain sentences, keywords, even with the disclaimer posted, even with the, where you allow comments like that for people to be seen, it'll still get filtered out and only the publisher, me, can see them. And I got such warm comments as, would I go throw myself off of a bridge, to would I go play in traffic out on the interstate? And that's about as PG as I can make those. So, thanks for the love. I appreciate it. Let's continue on with it. Let's talk about Jones. I made it really awkward yesterday not actually using his title. For that, I do apologize. I'm gonna bite the bullet and just go ahead. He was a sergeant, okay? It's hard for me to say that because I have a ton of respect for the rank of sergeant. Sergeant exists in pretty much every police department, every sheriff's office, within penitentiaries, all the branches of military, save for the Coast Guard and the Navy, because we're considered petty officers. It's typically the first line supervisor, and they're very easy to see and very easy to pick out because they typically have, sorry for the thumb, they have the 3 stripes on the sleeves. Sometimes they'll have the 3 stripes up on the collars. Some agencies, it's just pin-ons on the collars. Others, it's both. I'm understanding that now at TDC, it's simply the pin-ons, whereas before, they had the 3 chevrons. It was gray chevrons with a yellow scarlet border, I believe it was. And then they had the pin-ons as well. Lieutenants, single bars. Captains, the double bars, also called them the railroad tracks. Major, the gold oak leaves. Man, that was pretty much it for the insignia for there. Sergeant was very easy to pick out. And a lot of times, good things could happen when you had a sergeant working with you. Inmates would typically roger up a lot more if you told them to do something, or they would behave themselves a lot better when there was some rank around. A lot of times, problems would occur with having rank around. Inmates would typically jack the slot because they wanted to see a supervisor. They had a legitimate gripe. They had submitted their I-60 forms, and they specifically needed something. Either something wasn't working out for them, they weren't getting their proper medical, they were getting the wrong kind of food, something. They needed to see a supervisor. Something that the ground pounding CO, the pod worker, me, couldn't get done. They needed to see some rank. So rank would come in. They had to make their rounds. And typically, once they were done with this individual, inmates would start yelling and hollering. They wanted to talk to him. They wanted to see this individual. They knew things can get done with a supervisor. Okay, a sergeant could get things done admin-wise that me, as the average CO3 Carter at the time, couldn't get done. So whether they liked him or disliked him, there was some respect for the rank. Now the individual, the person, the man, the woman, hate him. Absolutely hate them. Wouldn't pour water on them if they were on fire. But that rank, they respect that rank because the rank could get some wheels turning. We're going to pause for a little hydration. The path to sergeant could be a difficult one. One of my viewers is actually trying for it right now, and I'm understanding the first board. It didn't take place. Man, I hate to hear that. Bro, I wish you the best of luck. Please keep us updated. Let us know how that goes out for that. It could be tough. It started with an application process. It was an open position. It would get posted, and anybody could apply for it. Joe Schmuckatelli right off the streets, that individual could apply. They weren't going to get it, but they could openly fill out an application. Same thing with those that were in-house. Now, agree or disagree, whatever, I was there. The in-house individuals, they get preference to it. Equal opportunity employment, yeah, whatever. They got preference to it. All right, Joe off the streets, I'm sorry. Steve, who works there in the building, he got more preference than you, even if you got more experience. You can bash that all you want to. That's just how it was. Once that application had been filled out, if you were selected for the interview process, it moved on to an interview. All right, you'd go sit down with a panel of captains, supervisors. They'd ask a lot of policy questions. They would ask unit-specific questions. They would ask scenario-based, situational type situations. Two COs get into a fight and an offender is standing there watching. Go. All right, just free-fire questions. And if the individual was selected, they get selected. They go through Sergeant's Academy, which was, I don't know all the different individual academies. I went to the one in Huntsville, okay? East Texas, Huntsville. They would go through a Sergeant's Academy. 2 weeks long, and then they come back to the unit. And they were on shift. Cool. How Jones ended up making it through this process, I have absolutely no idea. None whatsoever. One of the things we had to do annually was go back to the academy and have a week worth of refresher training. The 5-week academy was called pre-service. I don't think there was a post-service. I think once you were on shift, it was called in-service training. It was really just refresher training, refresh you up on some policies, maybe some new charges for little dickbag inmates had been added, maybe some had been taken away, maybe there was a different way of wording it and writing it up. Sometimes the forms would change. This was a way to get training on that. Some units did it in-house, other times you had to go back to the academy. And for a week, you just took a little time off and enjoyed yourself. Wear your civvies. It was pretty chill time. Styles started doing it in-house. I'm pretty sure they still do to this day. It was a way to save money. They had you there at the unit, didn't have to pay any kind of academy costs, but it was a good time. Where I'm going with all this, you didn't wake up one day and just become a sergeant at TDC. Okay, there was a process and a procedure. How Jones got through this, I'll never know. One of the things you have to do when you go through the academy, you got to pass that physical agility test, that PAT. And one of the things we had to do when we went back to in-service, you had to redo the PAT. All right. Pretty much anybody can pass it. If you've got a walker or a wheelchair, you could still pass that thing. All right. Even with saying that, how Jones was able to pass that thing, I have no idea. Dude couldn't walk up 2 stairs without breaking a sweat. Sometimes that old nasty dude was already sweaty when he come inside the pod. And it wasn't because he was moving inmates around and dealing with the shit that me and my partners would have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Anyway, you get the idea. So How he would pass his PAT, I had no idea. It almost makes me wonder, did they just sign this guy off? Okay. Enough hating on the dude. It's pretty obvious. I don't like the guy. Guy didn't like me. Oh, and for those individuals, if he was standing right here beside me, I'd say the same thing. Now there'd probably be a little other actions going on. I don't think I'd be sitting right here quite as calm as I am right now. But I would say the same thing to his face. In fact, if anybody could direct these videos to him, please do. Blood pressure's rising. All right. Let's get to the topic. Sorry for ranting, guys. That's probably why I don't get a whole lot of views, because all I really do is rant on these days. Let's talk about story specifics. All right. The last video that I left off, I talked about a situation where me and my partner were working in D-Pod, and it had just gone to absolute shit. It may as well have been a riot. All right. Silverback gorillas hanging from cages, beating and banging on doors, monkeys just climbing on the bars, beating up and down in the zoo. That's what D-Pod sounded like. It had absolutely erupted. Okay. I don't know specifically what started it. Actually, I take that back. I do. What started it was me being in there. Okay. Every inmate in D-Pod, they absolutely hated me. I developed a bad reputation for myself. It spread from inmate to inmate, and whether or not the inmate knew who I was, they knew that if motherfucker Carter was walking in there, the war is on. All right? Just make life absolutely hell for that guy. Nothing could go right when I had to work D-Pod. I wish I could remember the name of the guy that I was working with. Tall dude, crew cut like mine. I always enjoyed working with the guy. Picket boss was absolutely worthless. Stick him in there, just stay there all day. We'll stay on the floor. All right. Shit just started going down even before we started trying to serve food. Once we got ready to start trying to serve lunch, slots were getting jacked left and right. Trays were getting thrown back at us. It was a disaster. All right. When that starts to happen, it's time to lock the place down. All right. We call it shutting it down. And be damned if an inmate hears a CO utter the word shutting it down. He's going to turn around and start yelling, and the place is just going to explode. They know they're not going to get wrecked. They're not going to get their showers, and they're just going to erupt on it. All right. That's pretty much how this was, even just trying to serve trays. And we were just trying to do our job. Standard procedure, when the place starts to erupt like that, before you lock it down, you got to notify the supervisor. All right. Picket boss was the one that had the radio. You notify the picket boss. Picket boss was supposed to call the supervisor. Call the supervisor. Supervisor just happened to be old Jones. All right. Jones hadn't even made his round in there yet. He was supposed to make a round sometime before lunch, make sure everything was shipshape. He hadn't even made it yet. We called for supervisor assistance. Supervisor didn't answer. We called again. No answer. Called for a third time. Jones comes back on the radio. Hey guys, hey, can y'all handle y'all's business? Okay. That was the supervisor way of basically telling us to fuck off. Okay. Sorry for this. I'm just gonna have to go through with the profanity on these. He's got me going. At that point, we're running on our own. Now these radio calls, everybody with a radio turned on can hear it. Every supervisor at TDC had a radio on them. Lieutenants, captains, the field bosses, all the different offices. It was all one channel. We could hear stuff go out all day long. And I know they heard that. And that was Jones telling us he wasn't going to come there to help us. Not that he could have done anything anyway. So we just went on about our business. Okay? There were a lot of policy violations that day. We're not supposed to slam the slots on arms that jack the slots, or kick the slots, or manipulate their hands at all. Those slots got closed that day. And I'll just leave it off at that. We got the trays served. We're feeding chow, doing everything that we can. We go back to try to slop the trays, meaning inmates give them back to us. First one we slopped, first food slot that we opened up, that tray comes flying out like a frisbee. Man, we looked at each other, we're like, we ain't even gonna collect these trays, man. Just don't even do it. We knew the kitchen was gonna get mad at us. They did. All right. Midway through the shift, Jones finally makes an appearance. He comes in and goes, "Hey guys, what's going on in here?" Place was just absolutely erupting. It was chaos. Dudes are yelling, guys are climbing on the bars. I looked at Jones and was like, "You didn't hear the radio call a couple hours ago?" I don't think it was that long ago, but that's what it felt like. And he says, "I replied back to you. I had business going on. I had things to do. You're not the only one working here." Oh, that burned me so bad. I started shaking. I was already shaking. And my partner starts talking to him. He got Jones's attention, and I'm just standing there by the picket by day room number 1. Oh God, I was hurting so bad after that comment. That hurt me. All right, well, let's go ahead and get this taken care of. So he goes to the first day room. The situation was the guys wouldn't come out of the day room. All right, we're trying to talk them out of it. They didn't want to come out. What's supposed to happen at that point? Supervisor's supposed to respond. 5-man team, suits up, take the guy down, put him in the cell. That's for one situation. When you got all 6 day rooms refusing, there's not policy for that. Okay? At that point, like, it's time to suit up anybody who's not tied down to a post and start getting these guys out. But that didn't happen. Jones goes over to the day room, starts trying to talk to the guy. Guy reaches out through the bars and tries to grab Jones by the collar. So his arm comes out. My partner, he slaps him up under the arm. That is an assault. Whatever. My partner slaps him up under the arm, pulls his arm back in. I didn't know it at the time. Jones wrote him up for excessive force after that. I found that out later on. Didn't know it at the time. All right. He's trying to protect this guy. He's trying to protect the Sarge. And Sarge writes him up for it. All right. We get the guy talked down finally, get him pulled out of the day room. It took the whole rest of the shift. Jones was only with us for 2 more inmates, and then he got called out to go do something else. Lieutenant Raymond called him for something. He might have known that he was making the situation worse. I'd like to think that he did. We finally get all the guys out of the day rooms, and we take a step back, we take a breather. What did we forget? We forgot the guys in the showers. Okay? We had pulled guys out of the day room, we put them in the shower, and in just so much of the chaos going on, we forgot them. They'll sit there nice and quiet until it's getting close to the end of shift, and then they'll start erupting as well. Beating, banging, doors hollering, soap getting thrown out the windows. We're like, fuck. Forgot to shower. All right. Get on the radio again. Call out for some assistance. At this point, we needed extra COs in there to help us start pulling these guys out before night shift comes on. Who responds to it? Jones. Jones come back in the pod. We're waiting at the door for him. Jones comes back in. Door pops. He comes in. Nice, greasy, sweaty. We're all just a sweaty mess at this point. Man, just the day was just absolutely disastrous. Inmates are still yelling and hollering. Still sounds like a concert hall. Usually when it was about 30, 45 minutes before it was time to get off shift, the place was nice and quiet. You're just making your security rounds, checking stuff, everything's good. We hadn't even pulled all the guys out for the day room yet. We couldn't get the job done. Jones comes in, looks at me. Why are they still in the shower, Carter? And I looked at Jones. Sarge, we weren't able to get everybody out. We've been trying. Jones cuts me off. I don't need to hear about it, Carter. You caused this. Let's go fix it. I about walked out at that point. I was so mentally done by that time. The noise, the yelling, the hollering. Picket boss wanted to swap out with me. I wouldn't let him. We go to the first guy, and just to spite me, turns around and cuffs right up for Jones. All right. Opens the slot, squats down, hand comes out, puts the hand restraints on him, pulls him out, puts his hand on the inmate. I'm standing there, gets ready to start walking him. Jones looks at me. Now, what's hard about that? You need me in here to move all these guys around? Oh, the guy in the cell, he heard it and just erupted. He was already making some noise, but at that point, Silverback Gorilla starts beating and banging. Hey, fucking Carter can't do his job without old Jones here. Hey, fucking Jones has got to do Carter's job for him. Starts hooting, hollering, and yelling. Inmate that Jones is escorting pulls away from him. Takes off running down the tier. I just stood there. Jones looks at me. I looked at Jones. You gonna go get him, Jones? You need me to go chase after him? Before Jones could reply, my partner had already taken off running after the guy. I started trotting after him as well. Dude only ran about four cells down and then stopped and was just standing there. He was ready to cuff up, just being a little shithead. We got him stopped, got him put in the cell. We put the guy in the cell, got ready to turn around. Jones comes walking past me. Hey, go ahead and take care of the rest of that, Carter. You do just what I did, you're not going to have any more problems. And starts going down the stairs, leaves the place, and we had gone on. By that point, I don't know if the inmates were just tired, if they had made their point. We didn't have any trouble taking anybody else out of the cells. But the damage had been done. My credibility was absolutely shot, and Jones had done nothing to help it. We would have a couple of more altercations with each other to the point that Jones just got so unpopular. He ended up getting reassigned. He got moved on from SEG. He got put into 8 building. I'm not going to spoil the story of how it was and turned out when Jones got reassigned. It was fucking hilarious. I'm going to make that another video for you guys once I get a little bit of time to myself in my busy schedule here. Folks, I hope you guys have been able to stick with me for the whole video here. I'm sorry if this hurt some feelings, language. It's a video about prison. It is what it is, man. Guys, y'all take care of yourselves. I'm going to let my blood pressure, I'm going to let it lower down just a little bit after I stop this and go on with my day. Y'all take care. I'll see y'all in the next video. Out.